round of applause. First guy on is David. You ready, David? You up for it? This guy is brilliant. I love this guy. So we're going to have a practice round of applause. We're going to start. What's your name, my man? Sharon. Right, you're going to be Sharon for the one. Fucking, what's your name?
Jenna.
Sharon and James. No, Sharon and Gemma, right? So Sharon. Sharon is going to start a small ripple of applause, right? And it's going to spread all the way around through that guy's legs. So you're going to start, it's going to spread right around the room, it's going to go right around there, back down the front. And it gets down to the front, it's going to go, you're going to go crazy, start stomping your feet, start going wild, and give this guy lots of encouragement. His stuff's brilliant. So start from there, Sharon. Like Charles go all the way around the table, all the way around the room. Start going crazy, start going fucking wild.
Well, good evening everybody, how are we all tonight? Great, my name's David, I'm actually from Glasgow in case you couldn't tell with the accent. I used to live in Dundee, I was a student up in Dundee, I stayed there for a few years unfortunately. And as we all know, Dundee's famous for a couple of things. The first one being Dundee cake, which tastes absolutely shite. The second one is teenage pregnancies, which is kind of self-explanatory because there's fuck all else to do after you're sick of the cake. I've actually been, a couple of years ago I found myself in Dundee bus station toilet. When I say I found myself, I wasn't there in a spiritual toilet journey, and I didn't just wake up there, I was actually desperate for a poo, waiting on the bus back to Glasgow. There was nothing particularly unusual about this particular toilet, you know, it was a pretty bog standard setup, 2 urinals, a couple of basins, an EcoWorld 500-watt hand dryer, and there was a couple of cubicles. Somebody was in one of them. So I used the other one. I went in, shut the door, pulled down my trousers and went about my daily business. And there was a voice came from the other cubicle. It said, "Hello mate, how are you doing?" I thought this was a bit odd, but not wanting to seem particularly rude. I replied, not bad at all. A few seconds passed and the voice came back again. And he said, this time he said, "So what are you up to, mate? What are you getting up to?" I thought about this for a second. I was quite hesitant, didn't really want to reply, but I did so, not meaning to be awkward. I said, you know, mate, having a casual poo. How about yourself? The voice came back for a third time. "Listen mate, I'm going to have to call you back. There's some dickhead in the cubicle next to me and something I'm going to say." So it's safe to say I've never been back in that particular toilet. It's full of weirdos. I've actually been back in Glasgow a wee while now, no longer a student. Back living with my parents. Actually up until a couple of years ago, in fact, up until a couple of years ago, I was still sleeping with my mum, sleeping at my mum's. I was a wee slip of the tongue there. It's my dad that I sleep with because he gives me cheaper rent. So I'm doing quite well for myself now that I'm back in Glasgow. I've got myself a girlfriend. Hey. Don't sound so surprised. She's my girlfriend at the moment. She's Polish. I don't mean she's Polish at the moment, she's not some kind of multicultural girlfriend. She doesn't change her nationality every day, although she does do a great impression of Borat, Yakshi Mash. So actually my girlfriend's great. She's really great. I don't know how you guys feel about the Polish. A lot of people say that the Polish come over here and steal all of our jobs. I can see a couple of you girls are quite disappointed about that in the front at the moment, but don't blame my Polish girlfriend. I was single for a long time before she snapped me up, so it's your own fucking fault. No, my girlfriend, she's actually great, she's very cute. One of the things that I like about her is the fact that she speaks fuck all English. It gives me great hours of amusement. I understand her about roughly half of the time, but it's quite cute. She sent me a text message from her work the other day, and it said, what does it say again? It said, I am missing you, whilst inside jobbing. I thought that was pretty hilarious. In fact, it was just Friday night that we were sitting watching the TV, Friday night shit TV. She looked particularly bored, a bit fed up actually, when she started poking me in the ribs. Poking me in the ribs, you know that annoying way that people poke you in the ribs and you just want to fucking punch them. She was poking me in the ribs and she was saying, Dave, I am boring. I am very boring. And I thought, this is golden, I'm not going to lie, you know, I'm going to take this opportunity. So I said to her, yes, I completely agree, and the only reason I'm still with you is because you've got great fucking tits. So, been back in Glasgow a couple of years now, doing, as I said, doing quite well for myself. Managed to get myself a job. Way. Again with a surprise. Well, I say a job, it's actually something that I completely made up myself. I phone up businesses and tell them that I'm a consultant and I can help them make more money from their websites. So it was this year actually that I got my first meeting with a potential client. Being still a poor student, I asked my brother to drive me through to Irvine, where I met Mr. Melville. Now Mr. Melville's got a company, he rents people cars. I don't know if you've heard about cars, but people use them to get from A to B sometimes. So the meeting actually went quite well, despite the fact that I was shitting myself and I was completely nervous. It went well up until the point that we were walking back into his reception area. And we were walking back into his reception area, and he held out his hand, and I thought, fucking amazing, I've really made it, you know, proper handshakes and everything, I'm a proper businessman. So he was thanking me, whilst he was thanking me for my time and what we were going to be doing working together, I stuck out my hand and I started shaking it, shaking his hand. And this was fine, you know, this was fine initially until I realised that he'd stopped talking and a few moments had probably passed. So I was standing there shaking this guy's hand. I don't know what it was, it felt reassuringly warm and comforting. So I started to talk. I had no fucking idea what I was saying at this point in time because I was just happy to be distracting him and happy in the fact that he hadn't noticed or pointed out that I was still shaking his hand. So this went on for a few moments until there was silence again. I was looking at him, he was looking at me, I was shaking his hand, and I noticed my brother had appeared in the foyer. There was a mirror in front of me so I could see him in the foyer behind me. I don't know how long he'd been there because he was actually standing shaking his head, looking at me, shaking my hand, looking at Mr. Melville, looking at me, shaking his hand. And my brother he was shaking his head and he appeared to be mouthing the word, no, no. And at this point in time I was still looking at him, he was looking back at me, and I felt like I was in a bit of a fucking washing machine. He was shaking his head, my hand was going up and down. And he was making this other motion with his hand. It looked like a kind of chopping motion, a chopping, slapping motion, and for some reason I took that to mean David, stop shaking the man's hand and slap him. So that's what I did. I stopped shaking the man's hand and I slapped him right in the back and I said, thanks for your time, and you know what, I've never seen him since. And from then on, you know, I tried now to conduct all my business over the telephone. It's a lot safer for everybody involved. I've been David Ross, you've been a great audience, thanks very much.
David Ross, ladies and gentlemen! What a start, did you enjoy him? That was his first ever gig. Come on, yes,